Hey, this is Coach Anderson from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, U.S. History from 1877 to present. We've been reviewing a little bit for that map assessment, of course, and we told you now, if you don't prepare for the U.S. History map assessment, one of the things you'll find out, it can be a little bit of a bear if you don't prepare. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to look at some of those assessment items that is provided for us by the Mississippi Department of Education. You don't have to have me, of course, to go through and find out or be able to access those resources. So all you have to do is the mde.mississippi, and what you can do then, of course, is access practice tests for U.S. history and science, and you can see some of the test items that we're going to go over. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Westward Expansion, and we're going to be primarily focused on the standard USH1, Westward Expansion in the New South, trace how economic developments and Westward Expansion impacted regional differences in democracy in the post-Reconstruction era. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a few minutes, go over a few of the test items, and try to give the rationale of why they are the correct answers. All right, the first question that we got, which is number 6, that'll come up, of course, on the test on the MDE website as the number 6, is to circle the underlying answer that best completes the statement. Those who worked in agricultural industry during the late 19th century experienced problems such as declining crop prices, high transportation costs, and property foreclosures. As a response to these problems, many agriculturists first joined the Grange, Knights of Labor, United Farm Workers, Industrial Workers of the World, and later joined the Populist Party. Well, we're talking about agriculturalists here. So when I think of agriculturists, I'm thinking about farmers. And then I ask myself a question. Did the Knights of Labor have anything to do with farmers? Did the United Farm Workers have something to do with farmers? Well, it says farm workers in the description, and then it has Industrial Workers of the World. That's also, does it, talk about or put you in the mind of farmers? But first and foremost, I can eliminate 2 real quickly because I know that they were labor unions and they have nothing to do with farming. The first one, of course, I eliminated is the Knights of Labor, and the second one would be the Industrial Workers of the World. Now, just in looking at it, workers here, Knights of Labor, United Farm Workers, what my thought process is then when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking about that's possibly a labor union also. And what we find is that the correct answer would be the Grange, or what we call the patrons of husbandry. And once again, all you have to do is go through, look online at MDE, and then you can see the very same questions that I'm going over. The next thing that we want to do, if we want to look at Westward Expansion, look at the next question. This is number 9. This chart includes several factors. Question mark, bimetallism, graduated income tax, direct election of U.S. senators, government ownership of railroads. Which title best completes the chart? Goals of the Populist Party, conditions of the Dawes Act, failures of the Gilded Age politics, successes of the Roaring Twenties. Once again, if you had done what we asked you to do and go through and created your flashcards, and one of the things that you would have put on there would be the goals of the Populist Party. And all of these things that we have that's been identified here are goals of the Populist Party. So the answer would be A, goals of the Populist Party. And once again, that's just from the fact list. If you will just do your due diligence, go through, take the fact list that we've given you for each one of these particular lessons and create those flashcards, you can get those kind of questions just based on the flashcards alone. All right, the next question. This excerpt comes from a congressional act that was signed into law on February 8, 1887, that in all cases where any tribe or band of Indians has been or shall hereafter be located upon any reservation created for their use, either by treaty, stipulation, or by virtue of an act of Congress or executive order, setting apart the same for their use, the President of the United States be and he hereby is authorized whenever, in his opinion, any reservation or any part thereof of such Indian is advantageous for agriculture and grazing purposes. In other words, if he decides that a reservation would be better suited to be a place for farming or ranching, he could take that land away and open it up, of course, to settlement. So which statement describes the major effect of this legislation? American Indian land was sold to white settlers. B, American Indians were able to maintain tribal identity. American Indians were eager to gain American citizenship. American Indian tribes gained millions of acres of land in the West. They didn't gain land. The best answer would be A, American Indian land was sold to white settlers. All right, looking at the next question. During the late 19th century and early 20th centuries, American farmers faced new problems. Write the number representing the description in the correct column to indicate whether it was a problem for farmers or a solution proposed for farmers. Well, crop overproduction, that's a problem. Inflated freight rates, well, that's a problem. High protective tariffs, if you're a farmer, that's a problem, because if there's a high tariff that this country, of course, has that is making other countries pay, if you are a farmer and you're trying to send your products overseas to another country, then they're going to make us pay or make us have to pay the same tax to get our products into their country. That is something that's of great debate in our country today, whether or not who pays the tariffs. Well, very simply put, economically, the people who pay the tariff are the people who are bringing the product in, and they pay that tariff by putting passing the cost off to the consumer that is buying the product that they're bringing in. All right, so we got 1, 2, and 3 are problems for the farmers. What are solutions? Well, number 4 would be a solution. Increase the currency in circulation. Remember free silver? Once again, all you have to do is go to your flashcard and your fact list. Government regulation of the railroads? Once again, solution. All you have to do is go to the Populist Party platform and your fact list. So the fact list and the flashcards, they will save your bacon. All right, next question. Which statement best describes how the completion of the first transcontinental railroad lines affected the economy? The post-Reconstruction era in the United States. A, it transformed human transportation by reducing the amount of time it took for people to travel east. B, it made commerce available on vast scale by providing a faster and cheaper way to move goods from coast to coast. C, it led to a growing confidence among Americans by inducing them to believe that they could take on an even greater technological conquest. D, it changed the concept of reality for many Americans by allowing them the opportunity to see what other nations around the country look like. Well, all those other things may be true, but the best answer when it comes to what the Transcontinental Railroad did, it was about economics. We kept talking about economic growth, economic growth, economic growth. Well, when you look at it, the one that's basically talking the most about economic growth is B. It made commerce available on a vast scale by providing a faster and cheaper way to move goods from coast to coast. So if you were an industrialist in the Northeast, now you have access to markets on the West Coast because you could take your products, put them on the railroad, and in a matter of days, they can be from your factory into markets on the West Coast. Westward Expansion, Standard 1, question number 2, which statement best describes one way in which the Dawes Severally Act affected American Indians? Once again, guys, flashcards, fact list. You go to the flashcard fact list, it can help you out tremendously here. So which statement best describes one way in which the Dawes Severally Act affected American Indians? The act allowed American Indians to apply for land allotments and learn new farming techniques resulting in increased crop yields. B, the act allowed settlers to buy surplus land allotments and assimilate with the American Indians, resulting in the strengthening of tribal identities. The act allowed the federal government to break up tribal lands and sell surplus land to new settlers, resulting in the weakening of American tribal identity. D, the act allowed local politicians to give surplus land and agricultural equipment to their supporters, resulting in the reduction of American Indian resistance settlements. The answer, very simply, is C. And once again, we gave you the Dawes Act, of course, in the fact list and in the and we talked about it, of course, in the review when we were looking at assimilation. And also, our earlier question can help us answer this question because it was talking about the president had the right to decide whether or not land could be taken from the native and given to the white settlers for agriculture, of course, and ranching. All right, Westward Expansion Standard 1. Question number 1, the political cartoon was published in Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper on May 29, 1869. That's when the Transcontinental Railroad, of course, was completed. And you'll see San Francisco on the left over here, New York on the right over here, and they're both ready to shake hands. You notice the buffalo, of course, is running away, and the Native American, of course, is running away, which means that progress is coming and they're having to leave. Which statement best describes the economic significance of the event shown in the political cartoon? A, it led to the near extinction of the buffalo through widespread slaughter. It led to treaties that eventually forced American Indians on the reservations. C, it improved communication between people living on the east and west coast. D, it brought products from eastern industry to growing markets west of the Mississippi River. Once again, It's about economic growth. And the correct answer, best answer, not that the other answers can't be correct, but the absolute best answer in this particular case is once again is D. All right, what we try to do, of course, is give you some ideas about some of the high points in terms of what is important when it comes to westward expansion. And if you taking some time, review the notes, of course, that we gave you and the high points that we gave you from lesson 1, part A, and then, of course, if you took our advice, used your fact list, created those flashcards, you shouldn't have had a whole lot of difficulty, of course, mastering that particular standard, at all. And I dare say that if you continue to do that and use the same strategy, you'll do quite well when it comes to the Mississippi assessment programs, U.S. history assessment from U.S. history from 1877 to present. This is Coach Anderson from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online U.S. History. Take our advice, do these types of things, and you'll be very successful when it comes to that test. And with that, I'll see you next time.